There you go.
Yaakov, based on your halacha tweet, is there any problem just throwing out old sukka poles with like in the regular garbage?
Make it did, it's no problem.
We threw the mikar din at you.
No, it's not, some people don't knock it. You wrap it up, do it in a respectful way, but when you
burn it with the chametz. Burn it with the chametz.
Yep.
Metal poles, David.
He knows.
Burn it with the chametz.
Drink shiurim.
Be that one guy that
So the
used
children
poles
should ask. So the children should
to
ask.
push the fire around.
Right.
That's right.
At least it'll have a purpose.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Sorry.
Where are we starting from tonight?
We're starting from the new parak.
Oh, geweldig.
Parents put out a new parrot tweet.
He already had his l'chaim last night.
Paris is engrossed in the Met game.
And tonight also, Tziyach. I'll see that.
I hear you. I'm not worried, Peretz.
It was part of last night.
Paris is Rabbi Aharon there. He's not here on the shir.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm looking around.
Look in the dugout. Look in the dugout.
I'm so high up, I can't even see if he has a beard. You know what I mean?
He's in the dugout.
Paris, making it as me. You're looking from Aaron from Queens.
Joe, did you send a text today?
What text?
I thought someone said you sent a text today.
On his on the
Yesterday,
status.
last night.
Icky in the status.
I don't know, because I didn't see a text.
I didn't send
sure
today's.
my
I
phone
didn't
is
send
working.
that. I haven't had time to send out today's.
Okay.
All right, so let's go because I didn't have Marvin. I'd like to dive at 9:30 instead of running around town looking for another one. Okay.
I'm game with that.
I'm sure. It's not such a hard daf. It's a geshmaka daf. A lot in this stuff. Okay, so Zok the Mishna, the new parak on daf Chavtes Amud Beitzah. Maybe kada yayim makom l'makom. Somebody brings jugs of wine, barrels of wine. I think it's jugs, no? Whatever, not barrels. You're carrying it from place to place on Yom Tov, don't bring it in a basket or a box. But maybe you are safer, but you bring it on your shoulders. Meaning, Rashi says that you don't want to, because it looks like you're doing weekday activity, right? Or instead of carrying it on his shoulder, carry it in front of him with your hands. Rashi says, somebody who's bringing teven, he shouldn't put the box behind him, right? Meaning on his back. You know the way the Arabs carry loads. But he can bring it in his hand. Again, the same yesod that we've been saying for the last few daf, which is that the Chacham don't want us doing things on Yom Tiv that look like we're doing it on the weekday. Which again is an interesting gezeira because that means we end up working harder. So even though we're going to work harder, which is going to be on Amud Aleph, still you don't have a choice because you want to make it look less weekdayish.
Exactly. So you're schlepping tables and chairs on Sukkos. You got to carry them a different way.
I mean, why don't we do that?
I'm asking.
And I don't know why. I think if it's in small amounts and it's just like local, we're talking about like schlepping it across town, like from the grocery store. I think that's more of. We don't do grocery store shop. I mean, whatever. Somebody asked me quite an interesting shaila today. Maybe we'll get to it in a few minutes. But
Didn't we have the Gemara? Didn't we have the Gemara about the people that used to have the carts on Yom Tiv, and they would pay them before?
Yeah, we had it. Yeah. We had the stores were open.
Why is it? I'm saying that's not very Yom Tiv-dik if you think about it, right?
That's why they had to do it differently. They did. They couldn't measure the same way that was yesterday's stuff, and they couldn't. You can't talk money. You had to do it all. Everything with a different way than the norm. Yeah. So then the Mishnah, the last word on the Amud, maschilin be'aremas heaven, and you're allowed to start using straw. You have piles of straw, right? So you're allowed to use it. Avaloi be'etzim shebemukza, but not. You're not allowed to take the wood that's in the backyard, right? You have basically it's a stira. Gemara is going to discuss this. Here it says the first first line here says that you can take the straw, and the second line says, but you can't take the wood from the muktza. So which one is it? Is it muktza? Is it not muktza? Right, again, muktza being, that's just again the Gemara's, if Aharon was here, right, it would be the Gemara's sense of humor to call it a muktza, and the whole issue is muktza. Right, a muktza here doesn't mean muktza, it means an area in the backyard. Okay, well, we'll see in the Gemara. Satana, is mutter. But if you can't do it differently, right, which Rashi says means you have to bring a lot at one time because you have guests. So then you don't have to do it with a shinui, and then it's mutter.
So then we don't care about covered yontif?
Meaning, it seems like lichatchila, we want to make it look like that. But like with anything else, a shas hatchak, it's a derabanan. So we're going to be more makel with it. We're going to be more makel with it. Right? That would be a lot. That would be, I guess, whatever the priorities. Meaning, achnasas archim, right, is going to be more important to take it to archim properly. Be more important than keeping the rabbanans. Yeah, Leo, doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wait, it looks like from Rashi, there's a difference between uvda d'chayil and nirek uvda d'chayil.
You mean if it just looks like uvda d'chayil?
It looks like, we know he's not doing uvda d'chayil, he's taking wine for his suda. That's not uvda d'chayil. You can take wine for your suda. If you have a bigger suda, you take more wine. It's nirek uvda d'chayil.
Right.
So Mamela, if he has no other way, then okay, so do it. It's not uvda d'chayil.
Okay, I hear that. That's a fair point. Okay, so let's see, Vait. There's going to be more about this. Iskin Rava, the Mechuzah. Rava was Masakin, and Mechuzah, the Daru B'duchka, right? Meaning something that you normally carry with Daichik, that it takes a lot of work to carry it. Lidru, right? Biragla. Take it with a how do you call it? Some sort of tool, right? With a pitchfork, I think that's what it is. The daru baragla, and something which you normally carry with the pitchfork, lidru be'egra. Take it with a pole, right? The daru be'egra, lidru ba'achva. If you take it with a pole, then do it with a handheld pole. The daru ba'achva. You do it with a pole that you do with your hands. Yeah, nifra sudroi lave. Then wrap a shmata over it, because then I guess it's a way to carry it easier. Bimlay efsha shari, and if you can't do any of these shinuyim, it's mutter. Damamar v'efsha l'shana is mutter. Okay, so these are all different ways of carrying things, right? So then, so therefore, it's not. You just have to carry a little different. But I think to answer your question, Aharon Kaplan, I think that's what it is. This is not in the public. This is in the public. But carrying a table from downstairs to upstairs, I mean, it's in the house. That's not. Now you're right. Let's say you're borrowing from a neighbor. I don't know, Taka. I don't know if that. I never heard of anybody doing carrying it with a shimon. But here.
Or even to Yaakov, think about how the David Feinstein used to carry the things up and down to the sukkah and the boxes, or schlepping it up and down.
Yeah, so I guess that would be considered like regular food situation. I don't know. Here it seems like it's weights and stuff. Not weights. I don't mean weights like weight room. Meaning it's big boxes of stuff. All right, so let's see. So Amar Alei Rav Chana bar Rav Rav Ashi. Amar Rabbanon. Kama de efshel shnuye. The Rabbanon said whatever you can change. Mashninon, you change b'yayim tova. You should change on Yom Tov. Bohani nashi the kamalyan chatzvayu maya b'yayim tova. But these women who fill up their baskets on Yom Tov, and they don't carry it any different, right? They go fill up their water and they don't carry it different. Notice it doesn't say the men are carrying the water; it says the women are schlepping the water. Just a point, yeah. And nobody told them anything. Yes, because there it's not possible to do a shinui, like we just said. If it's not possible, then you don't have to. Because hey, how are these women supposed to do it? The Malya b'chatzor, right? If she should carry it in a big bucket, whatever. Tamali b'chatzor zuta, she should take in a small one. So kamish b'yiluka, she's gonna end up walking a lot more. And if you're gonna tell her instead of taking it in a 2-gallon jug, take it in 4 4 half gallons, you end up walking a lot more, right? Which again, I don't know when you say it. We had this whole clear. What's worse? What is it? Right? I don't know. It was in Shabbos. What's worse? To do more walking, less lifting, or more lifting and less walking? But okay, Tosis doesn't really ask that kasha, but Tosis discusses it a little bit. Either way, so what are you going to do? The Mali b'chatz v'zuta, right? You're going to do it to Mali b'chatz v'raba. If they were going to fill it up with a small thing, so you a big one, kamaf should be masi. So then you're adding on a lot of burden. The chasi b'nachtama, you're going to cover it with a cover.
Could you make it that during the week they let's say that they can carry two gallon comfortably, 3 gallons already heavy. So during the week use 1 gallon and do a lot more walking. And on Shabbos use 2 gallons.
Well, you're going to change your weekday?
Yeah, to prepare for Shabbos.
I don't think you have to. I don't know that. I don't know if that would change Shabbos. To change your weekday in order to
have it said that this is what you do in the week. This is what you do on Shabbos.
It's not. It's. I don't think it's subjective. I think it's just what's less work on Shabbos.
So we have Shabbos shirts. We have Shabbos. We do things differently for Shabbos during the week. So
that's true, but that doesn't mean that you change your weekday. And you're not changing your weekday in order to. You change your Shabbos from whatever your norm is during the week. Okay. But anyway, so Techasi Benachama, should they cover with a cover? The cover might fall off and they're going to come carry in Rosh Hashanah. Right? What do you call it? Yeah, so what do you mean?
The bucket I'm allowed to carry, but the cover I'm not allowed to carry?
Exactly, right. That's exactly. I was trying to remember what the teretz is to that kasha. What's the matter with carrying? Right. So the thing is, I think it's not necessary. That's what you have to say. It's not a necessary thing to carry. So Mamela, we know that it's also. Right. Rashi, you see the what do you call it? You see the Ranchberg. That there are some that are not goyrus this part, because like what you're saying, David. See that Aleph goes to the Ranchberg. Okay. Anyways, tak the race. Okay, so tie it on. Tie on the pot cover. No, sometimes the string will get cut and you might come to tie it. Tifra sudri love, so spread a blanket or a shmat over it. So sometimes it's gonna get full of water and you're gonna end up squeezing it out. So therefore it's not possible. Since it's not possible, therefore they don't do it any shinui. Right? Now, okay, then there's a major toises here also about squeezing. When do we say schita? When do we not say schita? Yeah. Because and the toises says, meaning what toises says a kasha. So here we're saying that when it's wet, we're afraid you're gonna end up squeezing it out. And what about stam putting the sudar over it? If it's not, then maybe it's not going to come to schita. Might get wet and you end up squeezing it. Yeah. So it's Taisa says that it's talking about a barrel that's completely covered, and so there's no chashash of schita, right? And then Taisa says that maybe we're talking about water. So water is also because of libun, right? Water is also because of libun. Meaning is when you squeeze, basically what Taisa is saying that when you squeeze something out, liquid out of a towel or out of a shmata on Yom Tov or Shabbos, it can be 2 issues. There can be a libun issue, which is laundering, and then there could be a schita issue, which is dash. Because so it could be any one of any one of those two types of malachas. Okay, it's not really our sugi now. Amalei Rava bar Rav Chana, back to the Gemara. Amalei Rava bar Rav Chana labayat nan. Right here we have one of the most famous toises in. Where's Marchuk? He's not here. Okay. But this is a major one, and this is what we discussed in the shul in Aharon Kaplan's tent. First night Yom Tov. You're not allowed to clap your hands. You're not allowed to slap your thighs. You're not allowed to dance on Yom Tov. But we see nowadays that people do it. We don't tell them anything. Right? He says, according to you, right? So the person shouldn't sit on the edge of the lechi, on the edge of the eruv, because maybe something's going to fall out of his hands and he's going to come carry it. These women that take their buckets and they go and they sit on the edge of the mobile. They don't tell them anything. So a major rule that we say that it's better that Klal Yisrael should do it b'shoigeg and don't do it b'meis. You don't go tell them that they're doing something wrong, and then they're going to do it on purpose. So rather not tell them, let them do it b'shoigeg. So Klal Yisrael don't tell them about that they're not allowed to make sounds with their clapping and slapping their thighs, etc., because better that they should do it b'shoigeg and not do amazing. When do we say this rule that don't say anything? That's by Isudur Rabbanon. With the Raisa, with the Raisa, you can't say this and you have to say something. The Gemara says, no, that is not true. If you think that they're not going to listen to you, you say nothing to them. We know that adding on to Yom Kippur is a Daraisa. They eat and they drink until it gets dark. We don't tell them anything, right? So Memela, you see that we don't say things not by the Rais and not by the Rabbanah. So there's a whole lot of things here. So let's start with the Mudushu Shaygin. So the Shulchan Aruch brings this down in Hilchos Yom Kippur. But what the Shulchan Aruch ends up paskening is that if it's beferish in the Torah, then you have to tell them. Meaning the only time that you shouldn't tell them something if it's not beferish in the Torah. But if it's in beferish in the Torah, then you do have to say. Right? And that's one. Two is that sometimes the reason why you make a macha is not only for yourself, for the person, there's something you have to make a macha for yourself, so you don't let whatever aveiros are going on to negatively affect you. But okay, whatever it is, but that's what the Gemara is coming out with. Now the Tosfos that says that you're not allowed to clap and all that. He says, oh, nowadays that we clap, so what's the pshat? Right, we just got finished Simchas Torah yesterday. We danced and sang on Yom Tov. So what's the pshat? So Tosfos says because nowadays that we're not bekim and how to fix instruments, right? What's the matter with playing instruments, or what's the matter with clapping? Because you might end up fixing the instruments. And nowadays, if we don't know how to fix instruments, so it's not a problem.
Yaakov, this is vaguely familiar.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said we discussed it in the show, right? So in the tent. But what's fascinating about it is that Tosfos obviously learns that this was not a set in stone gezerah. It was adjustable, which is similar to the gezerah they made about leaving out drinks uncovered. So part of that gezerah was because nowadays we don't have to keep it because you don't have snakes. Part of that gezerah was if there's no snakes, it's no problem. So Tosfos is obviously learning that that's the way this gezerah was made too, which with this thing, this kula from Tosfos, most poskim can disagree. But the Ramah brings it down that you can theoretically rely on Tosfos, and that's what everybody relies on when they clap on Shabbos and Yom Tov.
Didn't they have? Can I ask you a crazy question? Mm-hmm. We have a Gemara that they used to play the Chalil by the Levayas in order to be ma'ir the people. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Do they use those same Chalils when there was a Levaya on Yom Tov?
Did they use those? I don't know.
Were you allowed to do that? I mean, what's?
I don't think they were allowed to do that.
There was no point for them on Yom Tov.
What does that mean?
It wasn't my
question. The whole point of the playing was to make people cry. You're not allowed to cry on Yom Tov.
What was my question?
What are you saying like that?
Now, that was my question. They didn't play it on Yom Tov. Those Khalils that they played was just Stama Levaya. If it was on Yom Tov, they would not use them. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think. I don't think they played on Yom Tov. Okay, let's see. The maschilin aveira sateven. So we said that you're allowed to start taking the straw from the pile. You're allowed to start from the oitzer at first. So who is that? Mani Reb Shimoni. That's Reb Shimon the Leslie Muktza. Since you're allowed to go from the oitzer, from the storage place, so that is like Reb Shimon. It doesn't hold the muktza. Aim a seifa, but let's say the seifa alayba eitzim sheba muktza, but not with wood that's in the muktza, right? Which is in the back. So who's that? Asam Rabbi Yehuda this like muktza. That must be like Rabbi Yehuda who holds a muktza, right? So does that make sense? The reish is Reb Shimon and the seifa is Rabbi Yehuda. So we say hacha ba'arze v'ashuchi askinon. We're talking about wood that comes from cedar and ashuchi, right? Which is a female cedar, Rashi says. The muktza machus v'sar and kiss, because these are expensive wood, and nobody messes around them. Even Reb Shimon is maida to that. Yeah, so therefore that's how we
know the difference between a female. How do you know the difference between a female and a male tree?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know.
Mr. and Mrs. Cedar? Like, how does that work?
Don't know.
The cones they drop are different.
Is that so?
Like pine cones are different for male or female.
Yeah.
One flowers, one doesn't.
How do you know that?
It doesn't matter.
Maybe I shouldn't even ask. I don't even know. But they're right. There are trees that are males and females.
I'm not sure if he's being serious or not. Are you being serious? Wow.
But he is being serious.
I don't know. Interesting. Okay. Ika the masila sefer. There are those that learn this on the sefer. You can't take the eitzim in the muktza. Someone of kahana. So it's a matter saying maschilin ba'oitzer tchila. You don't start with the oitzer first. Money. So who is this like? Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda the Islam muktza. It's like Rabbi Yehuda holds a muktza. Aim a reish. Maschilin ba'ereima sateven. We could start with the pile of straw. Asan Reb Shimon the less muktza. That's like Reb Shimon who doesn't know the muktza. So the Gemara answers, Hasam b'tivna sarya. That's talking about straw that got tevin, that got decayed. Right? So Mamela, nobody thought that you can do anything with that straw other than use it for firewood. So Mamela, it's not muksa. Tavna sarya, the Gemara says it's tavna sarya chazilatina. You can use it for cement. You don't have to necessarily use it for fire. So he says the ispe kaitzim. No, there's thorns in it. So since there's thorns in it, right? You're not using it for cement. Because you can't, Rashi says, because you can't use it how do you do with cement? Not need mix. I guess you can't mix the cement with your hands or your feet. You're gonna get splinters. So Mamela, that's what the case would be. That's why it's not muksa according to Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, on to me. Zok the Mishna. Ein noitlan eitzim in a sukka. Element of samachla. Right, so you're not allowed to take wood from a sukkah. Now, does that mean a sukkah like we just got finished with? No, it does not mean that. We'll see that in the Gemara. It just means a tent or whatever. Tent made out of wood. Element of samachla, you're allowed to take it from something that's attached to the sukkah. Meaning, if it has a very large roof or very thick walls or whatever it is, then you're allowed to take it from the outer part. You can't take it from the inner part. So Gemara asks, how come the sukkah you can't do it? Because you're taking down a tent. Right? If you're going to take from the roof, so you're starting to bring down the tent. When the part that's attached to that's also taking down the roof. Eventually the roof will fall down if you continue to take it from the roof. Even if you're taking from the outer part of the roof that's not facing the inside. So Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, my samach l'tfanis. What does it mean? Samach doesn't mean the roof. It means the walls. We're not talking about the roof. We're talking about the walls. The walls don't have an oil issue. Rabbi Nashi Omar, he says different teres. Afilu teima b'shein samach l'tfanis. It's even talking about where it's not samach l'tfanis. Kitanya hi besuraisa. That's talking about when we're talking about the roof, we're talking about bundles. Bundles of reeds are on the roof. Right? So, and it's bundled. So since it's bundled, what do you put it on top of the roof for? You put it up there to dry. Right? So clearly he didn't mean it to be part of the roof. That's why you're allowed to take it from the roof. But in a chanami, if it was actually part of the roof, then you wouldn't be able to take it. Right? He said this price is similar to our Mishna. Rav Shimon Mater. Rav Shimon says it's mutter. B'shavim b'sukkas hachag b'chag. Oh, but a sukka on Sukkos, shasura there it's also. Right? Now why? V'im hisna lea. But if you make a tanai, I mean again, what is by the way, there's a lot of confusion with this Gemara. Not in the Gemara, not because the Gemara is confusing, just in the halach of it. It's also, Rashi points out, even on Cholamayit, meaning it's muktza, not because it's yomtiv. It's not the same muktza as what we traditionally call muktza, that it's something that's not necessary to move, etc. No, it's called huksal mitzvah. The same thing with the Esrog. Saying why you're not supposed to smell the hadassim. If it's huksa for the mitzvah, then you're not allowed to get your own benefit from it. A whole yomtiv, having nothing to do with the classic muktza. But if you make a tanai, then everything works according to whatever tanai you make. Reb Shimon Mater, but Reb Shimon says it's mutter. How can Reb Shimon say it's mutter? Good, it's fine that there's no muksa, but you're knocking down the roof. We're talking about a sukkah that fell down. Reb Shimon made the less lay muksa. And Reb Shimon doesn't hold a muksa. The Tanya, Meiser Hashem and Shebener, the leftovers that are in the oils, the Shebekara, and then the plates of oil, that's also Reb Shimon Mater. Right? So the others hold that it's also because it was muksa, it was meant to be burnt. For whatever reason, it didn't burn. But Reb Shimon says that it's mutter. Right? Because he doesn't hold of this muksa. So the Gemara says, "Mi dummy, can you compare oil that didn't burn out to the sukkah that fell down?" There, the person is waiting for his fire to go out, and he hopes that he'll have some extra little bit of oil. I mean, he always has on his das, if my lamp goes out, I'll use the oil. Does anybody sit and wait for when his sukkah is going to fall down? Meaning nobody wants the sukkah to fall down, so therefore it's mamish out of your head, so therefore it's muktza. So I would think that nobody waits for it to fall down, right? But one or two people asked me this year in Cholamay when it rained, are they allowed to wait for the rain so that they could eat inside? Right? Instead of asking, should I go outside and eat first quickly so I get the mitzvah of sukkah, he wants to wait. So
seems like the wrong question. Seems like the wrong question.
I would think it's the wrong question. No, I mean maybe that guy.
I mean, if they don't want to sit in the sukkah, they don't have to sit in the sukkah either. They won't get the mitzvah.
The same guys that ask you for IV on Yom Kippur.
maybe. Anyway, but that type of guy might be sitting and waiting for a sukkah to fall down, not like this Gemara, right? This Gemara is assuming people don't want this sukkah to fall down, right? Okay,
at least he's waiting.
That's true. That's at least he's asking. Right, that too. It's also much.
He's asking.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
The Russia doesn't even ask.
Yeah. Some of them has a different teretz. He says we're talking about a sukkah that's bad. It's not a different teretz. It says the me'esmal died to Eloi. His das was on it. He sees his sukkahs. He didn't do too good a job. Right. He sees the sukkahs on the down and out. So he has it in his head that if my sukkah falls down, I'm going to use some of the wood. So therefore, it's not muktza. Now, why he didn't fix the sukkah before Yom Tiv, I don't know. Maybe he didn't have time. Okay, fine. But they both agree that on sukkahs it's also being hisna tonight, but you're allowed to make a tanai on it. Okay, so now there's also a lot of confusion with this. According to the Gemara, what it seems to be saying right now is you can make a tanai on your sukkah that it doesn't have kedusha. So we're going to ask, does a tanai help on the sukkah? How do you know that the wood from the sukkah is also all 7 days? Shenemar Chag HaSukkos Shivas Yom Lashem. It says Chag HaSukkos is 7 days. But Tanya, read them and say, Roimer, Minayin Shekashem Shechal Shem Shemayim Ala Chagiga. Kachal Shem Shemayim Ala Sukkah. We had this at the beginning of the Sefta, right? How do we know that the same way that the carbon Chagiga gets Kedusha like every other carbon? So the same thing, the Sukkah also becomes Kaddish. Tamalayim Chag HaSukkos Shivas Yom Lashem. The Sukkah should be 7 days to Hashem, Ma'chag Hashem, Sukkah Hashem. Just like the Chagigas to Hashem, so to the Sukkahs to Hashem. So you can't make a Tanai. Right? Can you make a Tanai on a carbon? Oh, I'm making a Tanai on the carbon that it's not going to have Kedusha. You can't do that. So how can you do it on a Sukkah? So Mara answers, I'm Rabbi Nashi, Brei the Rava, Seifa son the Sukkah de Alma. That Seifa is talking about a Sukkah de Alma, not a Sukkah of Sukkahs. Right? So in Mela on Yom Tif, if it falls down, so then the guy could use it. Of a Sukkah, I mean, he makes a Tanai on that. Of a Sukkah the mitzvah, loy mahani but Tanai. A Sukkah, it does not help a Tanai. So then the Gemara says, Sukkah the mitzvah loy, now the Gemara is taking the opposite direction. Yeah, can you not do it on a Sukkah of a mitzvah? Tanya schach kilchasa. Let's say you put schach properly, itra, and then you crown it, bekromim sadinim hametzayorin with what does it kromim were? With say this type of sheets and stuff. There's a better word than that. What do you call it?
Tapestries.
Tapestries, that would be a good word, right? Remind him and upachile anovim. I'm sorry, I skipped the line. It was adinim with tziyorim with all sorts of designs on them. The talaba goizim shkeidim afarsakim remind him pachile anovim, right? Fruits. Yeina shmonim muslosos litra shibailim and crowns of shibailim of wheat of grain. Also the stavim, you're not allowed to take it from them until after the last day of Sukkos. But if you did a Tanai, then you're allowed to make a Tanai. So you see, you are allowed to make a Tanai on things with a Sukkah. He says, that's what he says, I am not separating myself from him, meaning they're really mine, they're not Kaddish. The Kedusha is not chal in it. So basically what you're doing is you're saying, when does the Kedusha start with Sukkah? Bein Hashmashas. So you're saying, Bein Hashmashas, the Kedusha is not going on to there. But the wood of the sukkah that the kedusha goes on it regardless is katsuya l'shiva, it's muktza l'shiva, right? And this is where there's confusion. You cannot make a tanai on a sukkah. You can make a tanai on noise sukkah, right? If you make a tanai on the sukkah decorations, that if they fall down, you're gonna, like say you hung fruit. Let's say you hung up fruit, right? So you say, okay, if the fruit falls down, I'm gonna eat it. That you're allowed to do because that's not the actual sukkah, right? The kedusha is chal on the sukkah regardless of what you say, but the sukkah decorations, it's not. Okay. Let's say somebody had 7 esrogim for 7 days, meaning each day is going to take his own esrog. It's its own esrog. He's yaitza with each and every one. And he's allowed to eat it right away. Ravasi says each one you eat, and then you eat it the next day. Right? So you see that the person, even though he took an esrog, so a regular guy that has one esrog for 7 days, his esrog is you're not allowed to eat it. You're not allowed to eat it till after Yom Tov, right? Which Aharon Kaplan gets into what you were saying. The schach, once it's done, once you finish with your sukkah, it loses its kedusha. Same thing with the esrog. Once you're done with the mitzvah, it loses its kedusha, right? But the guy that does it one esrog every single day, we don't say, oh, it's an automatic that his esrog goes for all 7 days. No, he wanted it the first one for the first day, the second one for the second day, so on and so forth.
Yaakov, you still have to treat it with derech eretz. You can't just,
That's what we're saying. It's better to treat it with some sort of respect. But then it loses its kedusha. Oh, but here you see. So we're saying that on a sukkah, the default is that it has kedusha. You can't make a t'nai in it at all, right? So why don't we say the default is on these guys esrogim, even though he has 7 esrogim? The default should be that the kedusha falls on the esrog, even though he decides he wants to take a new one every day. So what? Let's say I want to take a new sukkah every day. That means there's no kedusha to it. Of course it has kedusha to it. It's automatic. So how come by the esrogim it doesn't have it? So the answer is Hasam the Mipsakul Leilas Miyamim. There, nights are separated from days, meaning you have a mitzvah during the day, and then at night there's no longer a mitzvah. So then that's already considered like the mitzvah is over if he already had seven, if he had 7 Esrog, one for each day, right? Kol chad v'chad yoyma mitzvah ba'apei nafsha. Every day is its own mitzvah.
So if it rains, you don't have a mitzvah anymore.
Yeah, but you don't know.
Sukkah.
Yeah, but you don't know that it's going to rain, right? So that's the thing. Here you do. I mean, here you know that there's going to be night. I'm assuming that you're not Yeshua and you can hold up the day. The assumption, right? But that's what we're saying. There, Sukkah straight all 7 days. It's considered like one long day, and therefore something that's muktza from the beginning is going to be muktza all 7 days. So Taka comes out of it, right? That if you have 7 different, let's say you have your sukkah of the day, right? So then they would still, it sounds like according to that, each one would still be totally muktza for all 7 days. Mashenkin, if you have a separate esrog for each day, so since the night separates each day, so therefore it's considered a separate mitzvah, and therefore you have no, therefore you're not going to say that it's mitzvah all 7 days.
One thing you might gain with a sukkah for all 7 days, for each of the 7 days, is before you use it. It might not have kedusha.
Yeah, I mean.
That we said last time with Chanina, which one of the Talmud was it that had the asterisk for each? He used it for Nachman, no?
That we did what?
We said.
What are you saying?
When we had it in Sukkah, I think, well, first of all, I think Michael asked over there that even the asterisk, if you would have to shake it bein hashmashos if you didn't shake it during the day, so you would have a skatzoil aveiros.
Oh yeah.
That he asked. But besides that, on the sukkah, one of the answers over there in Rav Nachman that he ate it or he used it for something else was before he used it that day. It didn't have kedusha. So the same would apply to sukkah. Before he used the esrog, it had no kedusha of esrog. There was a lashon in the Gemara there. You were medayik.
Yeah.
That he said it to be his esrog that day. So before that, there was no kedusha. So the same would apply to a sukkah. If he set aside a sukkah for each of the 7 days of sukkahs, then the one he set aside for the 3rd day would not have kedusha the first 2 days.
Because it's not chal yet. You're saying,
right?
Fair enough.
Maybe.
Yeah. I hear. Yeah, what was also the Tosfos that we'll stop here, but the Tosfos is an interesting Tosfos because from the Gemara, it sounds like it's muktza issue to not use the sukkah, right? But from the pasuk that it's chagiga, it sounds like it's a daraisa. So this is a daraisa, right? So the Tosfos is mechalik between using the sukkah when it's standing, like taking a piece of wood off the sukkah, and using the sukkah after it falls down. It says using it when it's standing could be an issa daraisa. Using it after it falls down, that could already maybe be an issa d'rabbanan. All right, I got to go run to Myra. All right, I good to know everybody.
Text out what time tomorrow.
I don't know. What time is
the Myra, by the way?
Mincha 6:25 tomorrow.
So Yaakov, where's Myra now?
Right now, YFR has 9:30. 5:35, I guess. Let's do 5:35 or 5:40.
5:40.
35.
Okay, somewhere between 35 and 40.
Because that means we'll start at 40.
That's true. That is true.
35.
All right.
Yeah, post 35. Fine, you
Okay.
win, David Spira.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Thank you.
It's
Good night,
time.
everyone.
Oh,